This video is going to be so long. Hey all you Hillmaniacs, it's Hillmanator. Today, in the grand scheme of the Time Vortex, I am going to be ranking every season of Doctor Who. Quite why I feel the need to do this, I have absolutely no idea, but I figured it'd be an interesting experiment. I mean, this is all subjective, and I'm sure many of you will disagree with me on many points, but why not? Series 1. Now, Season 1 feels a bit disjointed from the rest of New Who, in that the Doctor is a very different person in Series 1 to the rest of the show. And personally, I feel that that works great. I think that it really shows exactly what the Doctor went through during the Time War, and the amount of time that it takes, no pun intended, for him to get over his trauma, which would later be retconned out of the series. It also does a stellar job at introducing the Daleks and making them a considerable threat. Nobody would mess around with Series 1 Daleks.
Exterminate! Exterminate!
You get unforgettable episodes like The Empty Child, but at the same time, Slovene. Rose in this first season, how to put it lightly, she's not the nicest person. Now don't get me wrong, I still really like Rose, but think about the way that she treats just about anyone that isn't one of the main characters. Without telling anyone, she runs off with a mysterious man who only one of her friends has seen. Now, subsequently, when she comes back a year later, he has been blamed for her murder, and he is the only one that knows that she left him, essentially claiming that he was utterly worthless. Great. She also didn't bother telling her mum that she was travelling with the Doctor until 6 episodes in, thus causing so much harm and worry and just making Mickey feel awful. Yeah, Mickey gets the brunt of the bad treatment from Rose, to be fair. She even tells him in the finale that there's nothing keeping her on Earth. But, to be fair, Rose is still a good character. The Father's Day is an utterly brilliant episode that focuses on her. Overall, Series 1 has a nice mix of episodes, going from very action-oriented to some more slow-paced episodes like The Long Game. Then again, the mighty Jagrafess of the Holy Hadrajasic Maxarodinfo? What the heck is that? Regardless, in general, Series 1 is a very strong season. Overall, I would give Series 1 a solid 9 out of 10. Yes, it is ironic that the 9th Doctor got a 9. Series 2. First series with Tennant, and I'll admit we didn't get off to the best start. New Earth, the entire plotline with the psychograph. Oh dear me. But then we pick up soon after that with Tooth and Claw, with the Doctor's reaction to seeing the werewolf is utterly brilliant. Then the only episode of Doctor Who to ever freak me out was in this series. It was the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit, and surprisingly, it wasn't Satan that freaked me out. It was the Ood.
Some may call him Abaddon, some may call him Thor, the bringer of night.
yeah, I actually had nightmares specifically about the Ood when I was 6. I mean, they stopped shortly after, but then at the end of the series we ramp it up and we get Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. 2 brilliant episodes that crush people's souls, which personally is what I feel like all media should aim to do. But Fear Her exists, and Fear Her is, how shall we say it, terrible. None of the actors give a convincing performance, and it's just the dullest thing in history. Now, I am going to defend something that people might not expect me to. Love and Monsters. Admittedly, I was 6 when this episode came out, so it's not surprising that I had a favourable disposition to this episode. But I don't think Love and Monsters is nearly as bad as people make out. Elton's a sympathetic narrator, and yes, he's not as interesting as the Doctor, but it is our first Doctor Light story. They are trying a new formula, and sure, they don't have all of the kinks worked out yet. We would expect this. Now, it's by no means the best episode. Like, I'll agree, the Absorbaloff does look stupid, and it kind of ruins the nice, slow-building tension. Also, even when he's in his human form, man, does that guy overact. But overall, I think Love and Monsters gets way more hate than it actually deserves. Plus, it introduced me to ELO, so, you know. Now, personally, I don't think Series 2 was as strong as Series 1 because of Fear Her and a couple of the other episodes just generally being weaker. Plus, there was, even with some really great episodes, there was nothing on the level of The Empty Child and The Doctor's Dancers, which personally is my favourite Doctor Who story. I'm going to give Series 2 around a 7.5. Still good, but not anything necessarily special.
Series 3.
Now, Series 3 got a lot of hate because of the new companion, and looking back on it, Martha was pretty alright. I liked Martha. No, I didn't at the time. At the time, I hated her and I just wanted Rose back. But I was 7 and I didn't understand the concept of moving on. Personally, I felt the entire tease of Harold Saxon was dealt pretty well. We never got a good sense of who this man was. We just occasionally would see posters popping up. And if you actually go back and rewatch a certain episode of Torchwood in Series 1, I believe it's Captain Jack Harkness, a Vote Saxon poster is actually on one of the buildings in Cardiff as well. So they do some pretty decent world building in crossing the series over, but that is a completely different show, so we shouldn't really consider that. Gridlocked, personally, I didn't feel was as good as people did. I think most people were just so shocked by the ending that the Doctor isn't alone that they would just say that it's brilliant. But if you actually go back and look at the entire thing, it's just giant crabs and a traffic jam. The Lazarus Experiment was an interesting one. I liked the Doctor's speech at the end of it, but oh my gosh, the effects. Even for 2007 on that budget, those were awful. Now, I never quite understood the hype around Blink. I've never found the Weeping Angels all that scary, and there's a couple of reasons for this, but my main one is that, in theory, you can just get a load of people to surround a Weeping Angel. Once you've had about 10 people there, there's no chance that they're all going to blink at the exact same moment, meaning someone will always be looking at the angel, and then you can just cover it in acid. Like, it'll dissolve. It is stone when it's being looked at, so it will dissolve. You can kill a Weeping Angel if you just have enough people and some acid. Or heck, a pickaxe, if you're really persistent. And then we get up to the final 3 episodes, it's all built up to this, and it's revealed that the Master is alive. Now, I had no idea who the Master was, but as soon as Professor Yana turned around, I knew that something was going down. I got that sense of reverence as a kid, and rewatching it, now that I understand, and I've watched a lot of classic Who as well, oh my gosh, that is such a great reveal.
Then who are you?
I
Initially, I didn't quite understand why the Master would want to take a wife back in the past, and I still think that it's a bit lazy to just have her finish the series arc, essentially. But overall, I still liked it, and I especially liked Martha seeing sense and leaving the TARDIS, and standing up for who she was, and who she was going to be. Overall, Series 3, personally I felt it was stronger than Series 2, still not as good as Series 1, I'm going to give it about an 8.2.
Series 4.
Series 4 brings my favourite companion into the fold, Donna Noble. I am sorry for people who don't like her, but Donna is my favourite modern companion. She essentially changes how companions are. Prior to Donna, a lot of the companions will just do as the Doctor says. Donna is the first one in New Who really questions the Doctor. Now, we get absolutely brilliant episodes in this season, like the Fires of Pompeii, Silence in the Library, which initially I didn't like, but looking back on it, yeah, that two-parter is pretty good. And I realise a lot of people didn't like it, but personally I felt the finale was pretty well handled. I mean, I enjoyed seeing everyone come back, obviously, because I had met all of these people over the last 4 years, and then, bam, everyone is back. Also, I enjoyed how they tied in Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Adventures, but again, separate shows shouldn't be considered here. But then again, Series 4, we did also get fat monsters, but they weren't too overused, so I can kind of forgive them for that. Also, bringing back the Ood, Masterstroke. Now, by this point I had stopped fearing the Ood, so, you know, I was 8 at the time when this episode came out, but it was still massively effective, and I personally find it impactful to this day, rewatching that scene where Donna gets her mind opened to the Song of Captivity. And what happens to Donna at the end of the season?
You know you can fix that chameleon circuit if you just tried hot binding the fragment links and superseding the binary. I'm fine.
You remember when I said that it was good that the show breaks people's hearts and that their souls are slowly crushed? Yeah, that did that to me. Personally, I really liked how her story ended. I didn't like it as in I wanted it to go that way, but looking at it from a critical standpoint, it was really well done, and I can appreciate it while still being like, no, Donna! Personally, Series 4 is the strongest series for me, but purely because of the Doctor and Donna's chemistry, let alone the quality of writing that went into this season. I'm going to give Doctor Who Series 4 a 9.5.
Series 5.
To be honest, when I first watched it, I had a bias. I really didn't like Matt Smith going into the series. And looking back now, I can see that I was incredibly against him. I have to say, his first season isn't too bad. I don't think 11th Hour is a masterpiece like everyone else does, but it's still a strong episode, and it gets across who the Doctor is relatively quickly and acts as a very good jumping on point. Victory of the Daleks, whilst yes, the Mighty Morphing Power Daleks is kind of a stupid thing, it still conveys that the Daleks are going to continue to be a looming threat, and sets them up to potentially beat him again in the future. Something that we hadn't seen in the revived show at all. The first half of the Angels episodes was very strong. I did get annoyed in the second half when they actively showed us the Angels moving. That felt a bit stupid to me. I would have rather that we never saw them move, but what can you do? Also, some of the rules that they set up here kind of stuff up the characters from Blink, and also the characters whenever the Angels appear from now on. Now, this was the first really wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey series arc, with the entire way that it was resolved in The Big Bang 2 essentially being, yeah, I kind of don't exist now, except I do because I'm a story, and time... Yeah, The Big Bang 2 makes no sense, essentially. But, at the same time, it is entertaining as anything. There are problems with Series 5, though. The Beast Below is so so not good. I'm sorry, I just never liked The Beast Below, and I also have a problem with its placement. Amy is supposed to be like, I've seen it before, I understand the Star Whale because I understand the Doctor, but she only met him again recently, and she'd spent maybe a couple of hours with him at most before that. And those hours have been spread out over the years of her life, so yeah, The Beast Below didn't work for me. Also, fish vampires? Come on, Doctor Who, we've already had the Plasmavore in Modern Who, and heck, in the classic era, you had actual vampires. Yeah, State of Decay, remember that?
We Time Lords hunted them down across the universe in a war so long and so bloody that we were sickened of violence forever.
Although personally I still think that at least one of those vampires has to be out there. Overall, Series 5 is strong. I wouldn't say it was as strong as any of the prior seasons, but it's still a good season. I would give it about a 7.3.
Series 6.
Series 6 is where we start taking a dip in quality, and unfortunately it doesn't get much better from here on out. The entire plotline of the Doctor's death was poorly handled. The reveal of River Song was messy to say the least. And while there were some really good episodes like Doctor's Wife and The Girl Who Waited,
We take this Amy, we leave ours. There can only be one Amy, the TARDIS. Which one do you want?
This isn't fair. You're turning me into you.
and personally Night Terrors is pretty high up there for me, there were also some less good ones, like Let's Kill Hitler. It was so convoluted. Moffat just kept on throwing every plotline he could at the wall and hoping something would stick. But there were some genuinely good episodes in Series 6, I have to give it to him. So, overall, I would give Series 6 a 6.
Series 7.
Series 7 starts off with the weakest episode in New Doctor Who, in my opinion. Asylum of the Daleks. It had so much potential. You brought out every Dalek that had ever been designed, including the Special Weapons Dalek. And you had people in them, and then you just had them move from left to right. What a colossal disappointment. Also, splitting up Amy and Rory for the sake of one episode, just to get them back together in the same episode. Oh my gosh. The Power of Three was the dullest thing in history, and even the Doctor was bored of the episode. And the Angels Take Manhattan relies so much on breaking the time travel logic that I can't appreciate it. I mean, what the heck is fixed time?
You are creating fixed time.
We've heard of fixed points in time, yeah, but Amy can't be creating a fixed point in time, surely. The second half of this series felt so disjointed from the first. It felt like they had nothing in common at all. And also, getting another companion in who's just a mystery. I was fed up of it by this point. After River, Amy, and then Clara. Also, this was the beginnings of Clara becoming the most important character in history. And it annoys me so much. So we're just going to have her save every single one of the Doctors throughout all of his regenerations, and it never gets brought up, and he only starts noticing when he's in his 11th form. The only episode that I can say was genuinely good in this series was The Rings of Akaten, which pretty much everyone hates, but personally, I mean, I liked it. It was a change to the format, sure, but sometimes we need that. And the Doctor's speech was pretty darn epic. Although I didn't like the ending, I'm sorry, but like a magic leaf coming in and fixing everything when the Doctor's memories and knowledge, which bear in mind contains everything that is, was, and ever could be.
All that is. All that was. All that ever could be.
That's what I see all the time.
Couldn't do it. because it's a potential future. What? Series 7 is the first series that I genuinely didn't like. I'm gonna have to give it a 4.
Series 8.
Series 8 started out strong for me. I really liked Deep Breath, and I also really liked Into the Dalek, which surprised me. And then we got to Robots of Sherwood. Now, bear in mind, this season had been marketed as the darkest that Doctor Who had ever got. In episode 1, he might have pushed a guy to suicide, or he might have killed him. In episode 2, his hatred of the Daleks is so strong that he creates a being designed to kill Daleks completely by accident. And in episode 3...
I am the Doctor. And this is my spoon.
Really? Then we get Listen, which personally I thought was utterly terrible, and it continues the trend of making Clara the most important woman in the universe, which... no. There were a couple of okay episodes in there. Flatline and Time Heist were kind of fun, but the series never really got back up to where it was at the start. And then Dark Water. I mean, don't cremate me. I am watching Doctor Who and not Torchwood, right? Just checking. Also, the Missy reveal was so obvious. I mean, I don't think a single person didn't realise that she was the Master. Series 8 is annoying because Peter Capaldi tries so hard, and I can say this about the entire Peter Capaldi era. I think he's a great actor who was given some absolutely naff scripts. I'm sorry, Peter, I like you as an actor, and I like what you tried to do with some of your episodes, but the 12th Doctor just wasn't for me. I feel like Series 8 was stronger than Series 7, but not by much. I'm going to give Series 8 a 5.
Series 9.
Series 9 had precisely one episode that I actually liked. Just one. The series started with Dalek Two-Parter, where again they brought in a load of classic Daleks, including the Special Weapons Dalek, who can blow open 5 Daleks in a single shot and did absolutely nothing with them. Wasted potential. Also, the entire "where did I get the cup of tea from? I'm the Doctor, get over it." Yeah, that essentially sums up Moffat's entire approach to writing Doctor Who, and I don't like it. The Zygon invasion and inversion were alright, but they weren't anything special, except for that anti-war speech, which Peter Capaldi sold the heck out of it.
How much blood will spill until everybody does what they were always going to have to do from the very beginning? Sit down and talk!
Like I said earlier, it's not Peter's fault that the Doctor was, messy. I don't blame Capaldi for the Doctor riding into Series 9 on a tank playing an electric guitar wearing sonic shades, because that wasn't his decision. That would have been happening in the writing process. I want to clear this up now. I'm not directly saying Moffat is a bad writer. He has wrote some great stuff. He wrote my favourite episode of Doctor Who, as I said earlier, The Empty Child and The Doctor Dances. He wrote The Girl in the Fireplace. Blink, which, I mean, I may have said that I didn't understand its appeal, but it's certainly not a bad episode. And Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead. I mean, that moment with Donna and her kids asking if they're real, that is some powerful stuff. But I don't think he should have taken over as showrunner. Since he did, the entire show has felt the need to get overly convoluted and just messy. And the entire hybrid arc is the ultimate epitome of that. It is so poorly done, and in the end, it makes no sense whatsoever. How can 2 separate beings be a hybrid? Hellbent is also one of my least favourite episodes of Doctor Who ever, because it comes immediately after Heaven Sent, which is one of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who. Heaven Sent sets up the Doctor as going through grief, and he has to go through 4 billion years of torment in order to get over the fact that Clara is dead. And then in Hellbent, within the first 10 minutes, he's just like, nah, I'm bringing her back, done. And he makes her immortal, essentially. I mean, yes, she will eventually die, but she can live for as long as she wants in that TARDIS. It's just messy. It's sloppy writing. Thankfully, we got rid of Clara. Again, I want to clear up. I don't dislike Jenna Louise Coleman. I think she did a good job. I do dislike the way she was written. All of Clara's problems stem from the fact that A, she's a carbon copy of Amy and River, and B, the writers keep making her the most important person in every story. Overall, I would give Series 9 a 3 out of 10.
Series 10.
Series 10 was surprisingly a lot better, and I am so thankful. While I didn't think Pearl Mackie was the most inspired choice, and I'm not overly fond of Nardole, both of them worked. I didn't particularly think the monk stuff was very good.
You act out of love. Love is consent. We must be loved. Bill, do not make this deal, I forbid it.
Going it down the 1984 surveillance route can work, but it didn't for me. The execution just wasn't there. Fortunately though, some episodes did surprise me. I thought that the emoji bots were going to be the worst thing in Doctor Who literally ever, and they turned out to be effective. Bill was a surprisingly competent character, which, thank goodness, but at the same time she didn't overshadow everyone else, which again, thank goodness. But then again, Series 10 did have a few issues. The entire marketing scheme of bringing John Sim back and revealing that he was coming back, that was stupid. Why not wait until that episode? Everyone is losing their minds, telling everyone that you have to watch the next episode because John Sim as the Master is back. That would have been a way more powerful marketing tool, and also it would have worked way better for audience shock value. Now, the Master's role in that final story was done alright. I can buy the Master eventually being his own downfall, but we all know that there is no way that they're just going to let the Master be dead, even if the Master thinks that he killed herself. But overall, I would say Series 10 was a stronger series than any of the Moffat era except Series 5. I would give Series 10 a 7.
Series 11.
I do think that in general this series was good. It did suffer a little, in my opinion, from just the middle episodes not being as interesting as the beginning or the end. There's always one episode which just isn't as interesting, and this series had a couple that I didn't care about as much. The Tanduska Conundrum I thought was okay, but not great. Demons of the Punjab, while a lot of people really liked that episode, I felt that the two brothers that we were supposed to be caring about in that episode were just so bland, and I couldn't get into it, unfortunately. But the writing for this season has been much stronger than it has for the past couple of series. And also, the production value actually looks so great. I haven't mentioned this on any of the others, but the production value does steadily increase as the series go on, which you would expect because affects age and whatnot, but this series looked particularly good. The opening shot of the finale in particular, I was a fan. Now, I have to say, it did feel a bit weird to me because the music, where was the music? See, for the last 10 seasons they had Murray Gold composing the music, and then this season he decided not to and they got someone else in. I can't remember the name of the new guy, but he was a lot more subtle with his music choices, which, I mean, I can respect it, but personally I prefer the big bombastic scores. I like Old Gallifore, Veo di Chem, the Cyberman theme that is the original Cyberman theme from Rise of the Cybermen. Interesting choice to have no returning villains this year, and to be honest, I kind of understand it. I mean, we did need a bit of a break. The Daleks were a joke by the end of the Moffat era. I didn't mention it in Series 7, but Rory power slid through a room full of Daleks. Literally, he just slides. Like I said when I was talking about Series 1, nobody could escape the Daleks. They were unstoppable. But by the time you get to Series 7 and onwards, they are defeated so easily. Heck, Series 10, I get beat by a puddle. A magic puddle, but a puddle all the same. So I felt it was a nice change to not have any returning villains. Rosa stuck out particularly to me. I did like the story that they told with that, although I do have to say, the music choice for the bus scene was interesting. For me, it just seemed a little ironic because the whole reason why Rosa Parks is famous is because she refused to stand up, and the song they're playing is Rise Up. Like, I get where they were going, but for me it didn't work. I have to say, Kablam surprised me. I thought it was just going to be a dumb story, but it actually turned out alright. It had a decent mystery, there were plot holes as there always are, but it's Doctor Who, you expect there to be. Series 11, maybe on par with, just above. Series 5, I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Mapping those results onto a graph, this is how I feel like the quality of Doctor Who has fluctuated over time.
Okay, so that was all of Doctor Who seasons ranked. I'm going to do the specials after I've rewatched them all, but I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, thanks for watching all. I shall catch you next time.